Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Wonderful World of Weddings. My name is Daniel, and I am so happy to have you here. Just like each and every week, the Wonderful World of Weddings tries to bring you incredible guests that can help you make your wedding a true success. We are brought to you by Be Remembered, where you can have a wonderful wedding experience from your photography, videography, event planning, DJ, coordination, photo booth, makeup, and more. Contact us today to figure out how to make your day a true success. Go to BeRememberedWeddings.com or give us a call anytime. Even if you're just in the beginning phase, we always love to help you out. And we're going to help you out today by talking to a wonderful man named Dane Martin, who started 802 Photography right out of Vermont. So thank you for being on the show, Dane. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
I was waiting for myself to do that.
It happens every time I introduce myself. Dave, Daniel,
right?
Dan.
You got to cycle through all of them.
Yeah, exactly.
I get the Daniela. I was like, well, no, you're going to take that little A off the end.
Yeah.
Now look, you fit the build. You have a flannel on, and you're from Vermont.
Yep.
I've been wanting to comment on this the whole time. Did you do that intentionally?
I didn't.
You didn't.
I don't know. It's just I treat them like jackets.
There you go. You're just a Vermont man.
I guess.
Is that where you're from? Based out of?
I'm born in Long Beach, California. So.
Well, I mean, I guess that makes even more sense, right? So one place to the next.
Yeah. We moved when I was really young. So,
Gotcha.
yeah.
To Vermont.
To Vermont.
Of all places.
Yep.
So are you the full Vermontian? You know, hike, ski, snowboard, you name it?
Yeah. No, I hike. I don't ski or snowboard.
No?
If I snowboard, I kind of just fall down the mountain.
You just fall all the way down. It's a tumble down?
Yeah.
There you go. Well, you get down some way, right? So how did you get into photography? How did this all begin for you?
It's kind of a weird journey for me into photography. I went to school for exercise science. I'm kind of a meathead, and the gym just kind of like became like not a stress reliever for me. So I needed to find like a new hobby,
A new outlet, yeah.
Yeah, and so it was like hiking with a camera kind of became that for me.
Yeah, and you're in a perfect spot for it too, right?
Right,
I mean,
yeah.
the mountains are gorgeous.
Yeah.
Everything you look at is beautiful
Yeah,
up in
exactly.
Vermont. Yeah,
Not like any bad scenery.
right.
So I mean, it just kind of spiraled from there, and then
Yeah.
a couple I knew asked me, they were like, "Can you shoot our engagement?" And I was like, yeah, I guess. And then it just kind of spiraled from there.
Isn't that how it always starts?
Yeah.
You get the friend, or you get, I had a couple that knew I did other photography work, and they were just like, you know, we'll pay you whatever you need, but like, we want your photos.
Yeah.
And it's just as simple as that. And again, for you, it's like everywhere I put you is going to look beautiful in Vermont.
Yeah.
So that's too funny. And what were you shooting prior? Just landscape, and then you went right into them, or did you do any other shots?
No, it was mostly landscape and my dogs.
Your dogs?
Yeah.
What type of dogs?
I have a Australian cattle dog and a hound mutt mix.
Something,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. Those are the best, though,
Yeah.
aren't they? Yeah. No, absolutely. And so when you jumped in, you were shooting Nikon, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah.
Still shooting Nikon. I shoot this Fuji. That's like my everyday carry camera, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
But I shoot a Nikon D810 and a Z6 II.
No kidding.
On wedding day.
Yep. And so when did you start this whole process? When was the first engagement shoot?
Probably right before COVID.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And then I had like a couple other little shoots, and I was like, I should try to get into weddings. And it's hard to like get into weddings if you've never shot a wedding.
Yep.
And I was like on all the Facebook like groups and forums and things, you know, for like looking for second shooters and stuff.
Yep.
But I didn't have any experience. And I was at work one day, my other job, and I saw a post. It was like emergency second shooter needed this Saturday, and this was like Thursday.
Oh, jeez.
And it was in Jericho, Vermont, which is not far from me. So I messaged her. I was like, "Oh, I can do this, blah, blah, blah." She's like, "How many weddings have you shot?" And I was like, "Oh, you know, like 10 or 12. I totally lied. She's like, "Okay, great." She's like, "Hired." She's like, "Be here, you know, this time."
Right.
I shot. She got the photos and everything. She's like, "These are great." She's like, "I'd like to hire you for a few more." And I was like, "Sweet, foot in the door here."
You're in.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, we're in. So, and then it just kind of progressed from there. So, yeah.
And wow, so it's been what, about four or 5 years now?
Yeah, probably 4 years like messing with photography, 3 years doing weddings.
And so you said that you've been you do a lot of Maine, you do a lot of Massachusetts as well. And do you find that there's a certain season that you're really locked into up in Vermont?
Yeah, it seems like most people want to get married like towards the fall.
Right. It's the foliage
They want the
season.
foliage.
Of course.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Like September, October is always super busy.
I mean, it's absolutely incredible the number of weddings that occur in those 2 months. I mean, those were our busiest months, I think, last year for photography and video. We did over 100 weddings in those months.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it was disgusting.
I have 10 in September, and I'm like, I'm so busy. So
little different system.
yeah, slightly. Yeah,
We're built for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's definitely, it's pretty wild. But this is also, you know, and we always talk about New England, it's a destination state, and we forget this.
Yeah.
Or I should say destination region. And Vermont is one of those destinations, beautiful tourism spots, beautiful locations to stay, et cetera, all the mountains, you know. So that's absolutely amazing. And so just getting back to it, you're doing about 11 in September. How many weddings do you have planned for the 2023 season?
This year between like, I do second shooting and some associate shooting for some photographers, and then I have my own. And I think between the three, I've already shot 2. I think I have 25 or 26 more.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. So pretty busy season for you. Yep. What did you do? I mean, last year was a huge boom. You know, were you shooting every weekend there?
Yeah, it was, I think I purposely didn't book, and I did it this year. I didn't book 4th of July weekend, but every weekend after that till like November, I'm doing at least one wedding.
Yeah. Absolutely incredible, isn't it? Yeah. It really is. And so does the weather play into any effect when you're up there too? I mean, that has to be a big problem for weddings. Yeah.
Well, so you say like it's a destination place. And I did have this couple last year who was from Florida, and they're like, we want a white wedding and whatever. They contacted me like, you know, the fall before or whatever.
Yep.
And they're like, we want to get married in, I think it was January.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it could be 20 below out for your wedding. Right. And they're like, it gets that cold? I was like, it gets colder. And their ceremony, they wanted it outside. Well, the wedding comes, ceremony is still outside.
Yeah.
I think it was about 5 degrees.
Oh my God.
It was freezing.
Yeah.
I had to keep all my gear outside so it wouldn't fog up.
Right.
So I had
right.
Yeah. So I had to keep it outside.
Yeah.
And then they wanted photos outside, like couples portraits and stuff. So we'd have to run outside, take a few pics, go back inside. Cause you know, if you're outside too long, your face turns red and everything.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah, it was.
Well, on top of that too, I was doing one, and these two, they similar situation. They came up from, was it Virginia? And they were just like, oh, we met here, so we're gonna do an elopement here with our 5 friends. And they did it at this old stone church in West Boylston. And we're out there, and it's snowing, and it's gorgeous. The problem is my fingers are frozen, and I can't push the damn button on top of the camera.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know what you want from me.
You can't wear gloves.
No.
Yeah.
No. And so they're just like, oh, you know, we'd like a few more. I was like, I'm done.
Yeah.
Gonna be totally honest with you.
Yeah.
I'm out.
I can't feel my fingers.
Yeah.
So.
I was like, I have beautiful ones. They loved them. Great. I mean, the snow is falling in the photo. It's gorgeous.
Perfect.
But I couldn't do it anymore.
Oh, yeah.
And I looked at them too, and I was like, I'm not one to complain.
Right.
If I didn't have to have my hands exposed, I'd be out here all day.
Yeah, for sure.
But I can't function as a photographer, which is what you paid me for. So let's go back inside.
Yeah.
And the problem is there was no inside place. There was nothing. It was an old stone church that was just outside in the middle. It's like there was nothing you could do.
Yeah.
You're going to be freezing.
Stuck in the elements.
Our car is up on top of this little hill that we have to slide our way up because I was wearing dress shoes like an idiot, mind you.
Rookie mistake.
Yeah, it was. Absolutely. Well, you know, it was so funny. I think they moved the time on me because I had this whole change of clothes. I was going to drive home, do it, and then, change and then go. I'm like, oh, can we actually do it during the day? I think that was the whole thing, is to get the snow. And so I was like, yeah, sure. Why not? That sounds great. Like, it'll be beautiful. And I show up and I'm like, oh, you dumbass.
Yeah.
Like, this is going to be bad.
Right.
And so I'm sliding down the hill with them, and we're just, it was grand old time.
Yeah.
Absolutely grand old time. Well, when we come back, we're going to talk about how to get that perfect shot and what you're looking for in that perfect shot for all of our wedding couples out there who are getting ready for their big day. We're also going to talk about some of the things we had a discussion prior to getting on air here about what things not to worry about. And I think that's equally as important. So when we come back, we're going to talk to Dane Martin from 802 Photography. We really appreciate you coming by, and we hope we're going to give you a lot of good information in just a few minutes. So stay with us. And in the meantime, go to BeRememberedWeddings.com to check out everything you might need to make your day a wonderful day and a wonderful success at BeRememberedWeddings.com. We will see you back here in just a few. Thanks, guys.
Every step, writing stories that seek to be read, taking hold of the moment as we discover every color filled with wonder. Now we finally see we got everything we need. Here we go. All we need is an open road and a chance to see a never-ending world that's beautiful. Here we go with the sunlight on our skin. It's a brand new day. It's ours to take and we will let it in. This is where the adventure begins.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to the wonderful world of weddings. We're so happy to have you here. My name is Daniel Krikorian. I am joined by Dane Martin of 802 Photography. Almost messed that one up. That's fine. But before we get right back to the show, I'm just going to let you know, like I did before we left last time, go to BeRememberedWeddings.com. If you're a couple looking to get advice on your big day, we have wonderful resources for you. And if you're looking to book, go ahead and give us a call because we are always happy to help you out with photo, video, event planning, DJ, coordination, photo booth, makeup, and more. Everything is in-house. We can give you an absolutely great price, deal with one team, and make your day absolutely spectacular. Now, Dane, let's get back into photography. One of the biggest pivot points of the wedding, and I think it has really gained its popularity. So I was looking just the other day, and in Massachusetts alone, 38,000 people go ahead and have a photographer. And what they do is they break it down. There's about 47,000 weddings in Massachusetts that happen yearly. Wow. So quite a bit.
Yeah.
And we always look at how many people are ordering photography versus DJ versus video versus coordination and planning, the whole 9 yards. And DJ and photo are always the highest, right? They are the number one outside of your venue, outside of your catering, outside of your necessities. Right. And it seems like photography has become an absolute necessity to every bride out there, and groom, I should say, right? It's, hey, we're getting married. Okay, we have to document this day so we can look back on it for the rest of our lives.
Well, and you need it for the gram.
You need it for the gram. Yeah. Are you a big Instagram guy?
No, I wish I was better at it. I'm horrible at it.
I'm horrible at it too. That's why I have Sophie. Yeah. How about Pinterest? Are you a Pinterest?
No.
You got to get out on that Pinterest grind.
Brides are always sending me, like, can I send you a Pinterest board or whatever?
Yeah.
I'm like, well, I don't have it, but you can send it to me.
Yeah.
So that way, like ideas of shots and stuff like that.
I had a cool one this weekend. So I was doing an engagement shoot in Boston, and I will tell you this. Her fiance said she was high maintenance. She actually was pretty good about it. She said, it was him. Yeah, right. I had these 4 shots, and one was an elevator door closing, and he's holding it back as they're kissing. Yeah. And I was like, that's a cool shot. And so we did it in this beautiful hotel. Really came out well. But, I do appreciate the Pinterest boards sometimes. Sometimes they can go over the top. Yeah. And they're like, I want it to look like this. And I'm like, well, that's a beach, and we're in the woods. Yeah. It ain't going to look like that. And they're like, well, why doesn't it look the same? I'm like, well, it's, yeah. So, but that being said, I guess my question for you, because I have an approach to doing this, and I'll talk about that after, but when you have a couple and you're going through their poses on their wedding day, let's stick to poses to start. Do you have an approach on how to pose them or what you're looking for out of them? How to really connect what their vision is and your vision?
So I guess it depends on the couple. It kind of varies.
Sure.
Because some couples are like more comfortable with like PDA than others,
Yeah. Isn't that always fun to play with though, to see what that is?
Yeah, there's always that threshold there.
Right.
Yeah. But I try to make it, I want it to be like more candid, I guess. Like, I'll tell them to like whisper something and something bad in the other's ears. Try to get like a genuine reaction as opposed to just like, the stoic, like set pose.
Although the farmer pose is coming back.
I have seen that.
I've done it a few times.
I've never done that one.
And I've actually modified it to be a little bit more salacious. Yeah. So what I'll do is I'll have like the standard farmer, and then I'll turn her into him and kind of like have her like grabbing his shirt. Honestly, it feels more intimate, which is why I like it. The farmer's kind of funny though, because for some couples, the farmer works really well.
Yeah, for some couples, I bet it would be perfect actually.
Yeah. And I don't know what the difference is either.
I don't either, but I'm gonna steal it now.
Yeah.
So,
You ever have that couple that you pose them in a certain way, you're like, oh, you look great. You pose them in another way, you're like,
yeah, this is terrible.
Yeah,
like, for sure.
It's weird. You have to figure it out with them, right? So again, is there an approach, or is it just that candid nature of like, let me get you close and then let you two kind of fill in the gap?
Kind of, yeah, trying to get them close and then kind of fill in the gap. Unless there's something like, you know, some brides are like very specific. I want this pose, you know, I want this with this. But I mean, you know, everybody's different. So like that pose isn't going to look the same as what they saw on their Pinterest board.
Yeah.
So.
And I don't know if you agree with me here, but I think the men are always a determining factor. Like you have to get the men on board.
Oh yeah, you got to win the guy over.
Yeah. Yeah. You absolutely have to. Like 100%. I had a guy the other day who was like, oh, I was so nervous for this, but this has been a blast. And I'm like, I know, and that's why your photos are coming out great.
Yeah.
I was like, I did my job, right? I brought the temperature down. I let you have some fun. Yeah. And now we're really getting into it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you can do more with them too.
Yeah, for sure. Otherwise they're just kind of like, you know.
Do I move my hand here?
Yeah. Sometimes I'm like, that's your wife. Like you can touch her.
She doesn't have cooties.
Yeah.
This isn't the second grade.
You do know each other, right? Like
my whole joke is, you love each other, right? Yeah. Like, should we call this off? And
that's what I'm always like, act like you love each other.
Yeah, like, right. Yeah. It's the same thing. I'm glad to know that's a universal concept here, because it is funny. They, you know, and again, it's about getting them down to that level. One of my other jokes, which I think I probably told on here before, but I'd be like, all right, now can we kiss? And I had one guy who was brilliant. He looks back at me and goes, you getting in on this? And I was like, oh, no, it's not that type of day. I'm so sorry.
That's a different shoot.
Yeah, I was like, you didn't pay that much, bud.
Yeah.
Oh, brutal. But but yeah, no, it's definitely that. I feel like as the woman always goes into it like, okay, even if I'm not the full Instagram person, I know what I want out of this, where the guy goes in and they're like, I don't even know where to begin.
No, they're just along for the ride.
Exactly. Yeah. And so you have to get them to be like, oh no, I enjoy this. I really want this. But again, you know, up in Vermont, and we'll go back to it just because I love Vermont and I don't get a lot of shoots up there. So I think I'm just a little bit envious, to be honest with you. You know, are you doing anything differently to try to work with the scenery? Because for me, when I pose a couple, like we were in downtown Boston, I have to deal with people. Right. I have to deal with all of this. I'm using a little bit different angle. Like I'm trying to get more of the scenery, the skyscrapers. I'm trying to use lines to pull the eye down. You don't really have to do that because you just have this.
I mean, I'm not really, I don't think I've ever had a wedding actually. I've shot like 2 weddings in Boston.
Yeah.
But other than that, I don't think I've ever had like a situation where I had to like fight people for the couple. It's usually just me and the couple.
Right. And the bear.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, so it's usually a good landscape. Like I always like to try to get like, especially if it's a really beautiful landscape, I always like a nice wide shot with the couple encompassing the landscape. Like I had an engagement session at Lake Willoughby. Up in Westmore, Vermont. And it was during the winter. So I had them out on the ice a little bit. So then I could get like a nice wide shot of like the Willoughby Gap and and everything. So
yeah, very, very different than my my Saturday shoot where we ran out into the middle of the road, got a shot and jumped back over so we didn't get hit by a car. Yeah. So and you know, congrats to Courtney for not dying when I told her to do that. I was like, hey, so you guys gonna run out to the middle of the road so I can get this great angle of this building? They're like, okay, is this safe? I'm like, yeah, sure.
Totally. Yeah.
And then we'll talk about it, even though it's, you know, I think it's pretty well known because of the rise of Instagram. But are you utilizing golden hour pretty often?
Yeah, you know, a couple times.
Yeah. It's like talk about the best times of the day. There's an hour in the day called golden hour, and
that's it.
That's it. Above,
that's the answer.
You have shadows here.
Yeah.
Can my flash fix it outside? Not so much.
Not so much.
But yeah, so definitely a very narrow window. Yeah. That being said, you know, it has to be gorgeous up there with the foliage. I know you have shorter days, just like, everywhere else in Massachusetts, which can be a pain in the butt. And I love too when people are like, we're going to go till 10. I'm like, we're going to have our ceremony at 6 in the fall. I'm like, that's not going to work.
It's not.
It's never going to work.
Yeah.
I was like, I can put a card on my flash and see what happens here, but I'm going to need 2 flashes. You're not going to be happy because the light's in your eyes. Like, things are happening here that are just going to be a pain in the butt.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. So when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about wedding trends and what we're looking to do here in terms of landscape. I don't know if there's any specific trends that you're seeing up in the mountains versus down in the city, but I'm seeing a few here for 2023. So we'll get right back into it here. We have some good poses that we'll go through and talk a little bit more with Dane Martin from 802 Photography in just a few. And in the meantime, guys, before these commercials, I do want to let you know to jump on BeRememberedWeddings.com. You can have a wonderful wedding experience. Go to BeRememberedWeddings.com for all your photo, video, event planning, DJ, coordination, makeup, photo booth. I think I got them all. Just about. All of your needs go right there. We are always happy to answer and help for your big day. So give us a call today or send us an email at any time. We'll be back in just a few, guys, on the Wonderful World of Weddings. Thank you.
Every step, writing stories that seek to be read, taking hold of the moment as we discover every color filled with wonder. Now we finally see we got everything we need. Here we go. All we need is an open road and a chance to see a never-ending world that's beautiful. Here we go, with the sunlight on our skin. It's a brand new day, it's ours to take, and we will let it in. This is where the adventure begins.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Wonderful World of Weddings. My name is Daniel, and as always, we are bringing you the best information in the wedding industry to help you create a successful wedding day. But before we get back into this, please go to BeRememberedWeddings.com where you can find all things wedding to create a wonderful wedding experience. You will find your photographer, videographer, event planner, DJ, coordination, makeup, photo booth, you name it. Put it all together into a wonderful bundle and make sure that your day is stress-free here at Be Remembered. Go to BeRememberedWeddings.com. Feel free to give us a call or shoot us an email today. But we're going to get back into it here, and we're talking all things photography with the wonderful Dane Martin of 802 Photography. And Dane, in the break, we were talking about some funny stories. I got you going. But before we get into that, let's talk a little bit about trends coming up for 2023 season. My question is, and this is something I hear quite often, have you gotten any weird requests for this season? Any different photos? Any things you're seeing out there?
Nothing too wild, but I do notice that like direct flash some people want. And then like everyone wants like the film look now, which is like I guess I could just use like my $20 point and shoot instead of my
I was gonna say
$2,500 Nikon.
Don't you love that? So like actually we want it to look like you spent less money.
Yeah. Yeah. You know how it looks grainy if your ISO's too high? We want that.
All right. So I had an argument one day with a photographer, and it's a local one, and I'm forgetting their name. It's like Stone and something. But regardless, we were at a wedding, and they were showing me their portfolio, and I was doing video. And he says to me, yeah, we get hired for our grainy photos. And I went, what? And he goes, yeah, people pay us extra because we do this like one main shot at the end of the night where we put a backlight to them and we turn up the grain. And I went, why? Okay, all right. And you do this intentionally? And he was like, yeah, people love it. And I just sat there and I thought to myself, I've spent almost millions on equipment for this company, and you're telling me that I could have done it with a Polaroid.
Yeah, with a Pentax.
Right. Yeah. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
But you're right. And it's funny though, because I've even started incorporating grain into some of my photos. I'm like, black and white, let's go grain, let's have some fun. So you're seeing a little bit more of that.
Yeah.
One of the other things you brought up, which is interesting, I haven't heard the request, but I've seen photos too, about the whitewash.
Yeah.
Do you understand the appeal?
I don't. It looks terrible.
It looks flat.
Yeah.
And washed out. And
I don't get it.
Okay. I don't get it either.
I think it looks horrible.
I teach all of my guys to use a bounce light to get
no one teaches a
three-dimensional-
direct flash.
No one.
No one.
In their right mind.
No.
And it's funny because I was passed over for another photographer one day.
Because they did that?
Well, no, it wasn't even that. It was a corporate shoot that was actually a friend of mine, and they were doing all their corporate photos, and they had called me and they said, "Hey Dan, can you do the shoot?" And I said, "Look, it's not something we typically do, but I'd be happy to. Here's our price." And they said, "Okay." I said, "All right." So then all of a sudden they called me and they said, "There's this woman that we've worked with for years. It was like a boss's friend. They're like, we're gonna use them apparently." I said, "Okay." And so she came in, she set up everything, and he showed me the photos, and he goes, "Oh, don't I look great?" And I went, "No, you look terrible." And he goes, "What?" And I said, "Why are you so white?" I was like, "It's so flat."
Are they headshots?
No, they were like the full body corporate poses.
Okay, yeah.
And I just looked, I was like, you like that? And he was like, "Well, I look good." I was like, "No, you don't."
Yeah.
But so it's interesting to hear that because for me, I want to show the three-dimensional look because our cameras have come so far.
Well, there's no depth.
Right. Yes, of course. Right. Don't you want that depth?
Right.
Like there's nothing, I got yelled at for using the sun as a backlight once and creating the little, what do they call it on the photo?
The sun flares?
The sun flare. Yeah. I created a sun flare and she's like, "Why would you do that?"
I love sun flares.
I love them. I think they're gorgeous. Right. Again, it's the right person.
Yeah.
And actually that pulls us right into our next topic. And that is really this idea of, trying to figure out what that couple wants and then catering to them. Right. Yeah. So are you doing any type of form system? Are you talking to them prior? How are you trying to figure out what they want and need?
Yeah, I usually meet with couples a few times, like prior to the wedding day, and kind of get like an idea of what they want. And I definitely like to meet them in person a couple times because, it's like I said, like when it's me and a couple, it's usually just me and a couple. Yeah. And it's like you want to be comfortable with them because you're, most of the time I'm physically putting them in a pose or something half the time. Right.
Yeah, this weekend when I was doing that, I had to move him. He didn't know what I said. So I was like, "Hey, Courtney, you don't mind if I get all over your husband real quick?" And she's like, "What?" I was like, "No big deal." And I just put my hand on it. I was like, "So you want to be right here?" And I was like, "You want to put your head against him?"
Exactly.
And he leaned into my head and I was like, "Oh,
have
Jesus."
To actually do it.
I was like, "I'm proud of you, Andrew, but that's really not what we needed here."
Not right now.
I was like, "But you smell great." So yeah, that's definitely, I agree with you. I think that's huge to understand what they're looking for and really create that piece of it. So we got our trends. What should couples be really, are they providing you with anything prior to that day? What are you looking for from them? Or is it just kind of just getting to know them?
I think just getting to know them is the biggest thing.
Are you trying to get anything out of them, or is it more just, hey, as we do this, we'll figure it out?
Yeah, I usually ask what the look is they're going for, what they envision for their photos. But other than that, it's just kind of go with the flow.
Yeah. And I think too, we were talking about this before, just trying to understand what that look is. One of the ways I do it is I tend to take a photo and then show them and be like, "Hey, look, this is how you guys look." I find it inspires a little bit of confidence. They go, "Oh, wow, we do look good." Yeah. Yeah, you do. You look great.
Yeah. I'll usually show like a couple. I don't like to show a lot from the back of the camera, but if it's something that looks good, and usually you do get that "Oh, wow, okay." Yeah. And then they kind of settle down.
Exactly. Yeah. And now they're like, "We look good. Let's try this next pose."
Oh, okay.
You got to though. These are people who don't, my whole thing is, and I don't say this to everyone, but I'm just like, when I get that Vogue shot that I know is that stylistic and because the look on their face, like, "Whoa, we can look like that." It's like, yeah, you can. Yeah. You do. You look great, I always find that it really helps just to continue, and then they look better and better and better. And by the end of the day, they're just like, "We love every photo." Yeah. It's like, I won.
You're like, perfect.
But during the break, we were talking about using goofy people and trying to set up preferences towards them. So one of the shots that I told you I would tell you about is we had this couple. She was from Germany, and one of my favorite couples. I actually did two of their best friends too, of their weddings. And she says, was it Sophie? I believe Sophie was doing the shoot. It was Sophie or Julian, one of our guys. And they said, oh, why don't we get a hot dog and eat it from both ends? And this was what it was like on like a 4th of July weekend. And so they're both eating each side of the hot dog, staring at each other. And it was like perfectly like with ketchup on the top. Like it was so stupid and funny. It was great.
It was probably one of the best shots of the day, probably.
It was. And
everyone's going to talk about it.
It was so them.
Yeah.
And it was about getting that perfect shot with the couple. Yeah. And this is why getting to know what their preferences are and really hammering that home and saying, okay, look, of course it's always what extent. Most couples aren't going to be like, let's eat a hot dog together.
Right.
And I think the greatest thing is, our first few photos in that album were like, kind of nonchalant, like standard pose. And then it was just a hot dog.
Yeah.
And all of them. And I remember their response to me was like, this is hilarious. Like, this is the best shot we've ever seen. Like, you guys got it perfectly. And it was like, yes, we got, it was Nick. Nick got that shot. Nick, he's the goofy guy to do that too, where he just has this eccentric personality that would absolutely bring that out. And someone's like, hey, we're going to go get that hot dog. But yeah, and I think, one of the biggest things that we talked about before we even started this podcast today was about the idea that asking, hiring based off of their style, I just find it to be somewhat irrelevant, don't you?
Yeah, I do.
Because, and again, we both agreed on this point too before, if you're a good photographer, you can match any style.
Right. Like if you want candid, I'll do candid.
Right.
If you want posed, we'll do posed. You know, like I can be a fly on the wall. Like you tell me.
I can be journalistic. Yeah. I can be more Vogue and, artistic based.
Right. I can bring all the lights and we can be extravagant. Like.
Right. Most people, especially the good ones, have the equipment to pivot and to match your style. And that's absolutely huge.
Right.
And so, definitely the case there. All right. Well, we're going to take a quick break here. We're going to be back and we're just going to be talking a little bit about favorite moments, talking about some tips and tricks. And then I want to talk a little bit about that camera you have sitting beside you and a little bit more about everyday carries. So join us in just a few minutes here. We'll continue the conversation with Dane Martin from 802 Photography. In the meantime, go to BeRememberedWeddings.com to get all of your needs from your big day, from photo, video, event planning, DJ, and more. Jump on BeRememberedWeddings.com or give us a call at any time. We are always happy to help and would love to make your wedding day a success. Right here on BeRememberedWeddings.com. We'll be back in just a second on the Wonderful World of Weddings. My name is Daniel, and we hope to see you soon. Thanks.
Every step, writing stories that seek to be read. Taking hold of the moment as we discover every color filled with wonder. Now we finally see we got everything we need. Here we go. All we need is an open road and a chance to see a never-ending world that's beautiful. Here we go with the sunlight. It's a brand new day, it's ours to take and we will let it in. This is where the adventure begins.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Wonderful World of Weddings. My name is Daniel Krikorian. I am so happy to have you back with us. We're having a wonderful conversation with Dane Martin from 802 Photography. Before we get back there, I do want to let all of you know to go to BeRememberedWeddings.com. If you're in the beginning process of your wedding day scheduling, please go and find all of your vendors right at BeRememberedWeddings.com, from photo, video, event planning, DJ, coordination, makeup, and photo booth. We have everything you need. Give us a call today and talk with one of our experts, one of our wedding specialists, to help you make your wedding day a success right at BeRememberedWeddings.com. Now, Dane, we're having a fun time here. You having fun?
Yeah.
All right. That's what I like to hear. It was about time I messed up something. Huh? I have to do it once. Yeah. All right. So I guess what I always like to share to allow people to get to know you is a great story. Mm-hmm. Do you have any great stories from your wedding days? There has to be some. I mean, I have couples all the time that do funny things, and they stick in my head for years. I always think it was like, oh, that was last year. And it's like, no, that was 3 years ago. Yeah. What was your favorite couple out there?
I don't know. I had this, I guess it wasn't like a fun moment, but like I had this really extravagant wedding in Boston, and they got married at, I don't know, some fancy hotel. and we had a marching band.
Ooh.
They hired a marching band.
Yeah.
And we marched literally through the streets of Boston down to the harbor, and then got on a dinner cruise for the reception.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so I'm like running through traffic and like dodging cars to like get ahead of them to get shots and everything.
Yeah.
So I mean, it was pretty wild.
That is pretty wild.
It was fun.
Was it like a mariachi band? Like what do we got going on?
No,
It was a legit
like a
march.
Louisiana style
That's awesome.
marching band. Yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah, it was pretty extravagant.
Really?
Yeah.
When was this? Recently?
No, this was 2021 season.
All right. Now let me ask you a question. Were they of any certain nationality or descent? Because that's over the top for our standard weddings here.
He was some sort of engineer, and he was from, I think, like Germany.
Oh, okay. Well, they were extravagant people, so that's fair enough.
Yeah, because they also had like, I guess part of the ceremony, like some German tradition is when they got married after the ceremony, they had a giant, like 2-person saw, and they had to saw a big log in half.
You're kidding.
I'm not.
That's right up your alley.
Yeah.
Did you like, hey, let me jump in here. I got this.
Tag me in. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. And the only reason I ask is I had a gentleman who is from India who says to me, we're going to take a horse and carriage throughout the city of Boston and take all of these different photos. And so that's what reminded me of it. And they wanted a drone in front of the carriage and all of these things. I'm like, this is
a lot.
Extravagant.
Yeah. I had a wedding last year in Maine, and the bride took a horse-drawn carriage from where she got ready all the way to the ceremony.
Was it snowing?
No, it was like July, and it was hot. Yeah.
Guys, you got to watch the Santa Claus. Stay on touch here. It's in the snow,
Yeah.
okay? That's pretty amazing, though.
Yeah.
Wow. We're in, what month are we in? April? May? I don't know.
April.
One of those times.
Yeah.
It's not wedding season yet. I feel like my months just go from wedding season to wedding end, and then I'm, you know, off and back on.
Exactly.
That's too funny, though. I guess, and when it comes to something like that, did they give you forewarning? Like, did they tell you about all of this prior?
No, they didn't tell me about. They had hinted that they were trying to get like the horse-drawn carriage, and like they're like, yeah, it might happen, it might not, and then it was like the day of, and I'm like, so, and they're like, yeah, we're pretty sure it's happening, and I'm like, how are we not sure yet? So,
and I always ask for tips and tricks. I think the biggest one that's relevant to us here is to tell your photographer what the hell you're doing on the day of, right?
Exactly.
Try to keep us informed.
Yeah, keep me in the loop.
Oh, the marching band, though, they told you, right?
Yeah, I knew about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And did you try to plot your points? Was it just you or you two shooters?
No, it was 2 shooters.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so they had like, it was extravagant because half of, there was probably 200, 300 people at this wedding. And so they had 2 buses for like the older people to just take the bus to the boat.
Okay.
And then like everyone else with the marching band through Boston, probably like, I don't know, 8 or 10 blocks.
Oh my God.
To get to the reception on the boat.
And so are you and the other photographer just like leapfrogging it?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Just kind of trying to like mirror each other. And
Oh my God.
yeah.
That's a blast, though. That was a fun day.
Yeah.
I do say to all these people out there in terms of like tricks, like if you're going to do something like this, it can always be done, but trying to figure it all out, the logistics of it, it's a big part of the day.
Yeah.
Especially for you.
And even like whatever you plan, like half of it's not going to matter because on the fly, everything's different. So
Yeah. No, absolutely. But at least having it in your head, like, hey, I'm going to have to run from here to here to here to here. Yeah.
I was like, at one point I was like trying to get to an intersection and like bouncing around taxis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you survived.
I made it. Yeah.
That's the most important part.
Yeah.
Have you ever done a boat outside of this? Have you ever done the dinner cruises?
No. Well, I mean, yeah, like not
Now
for,
you
like
have,
not to like shoot, but like on my own, yeah. But I've never shot on one like that before.
So we had one in the middle of the Boston Harbor.
Yeah, that's where it was. Yeah.
Right. And so was it the wooden boat? The one that looks like it's wooden on the inside? I don't know how to describe it.
It was, I don't know, it looked like some big yacht.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So we were on this really fancy one, and we put a drone up in the air.
Oh, that's cool.
It was fun.
There was a big thunderstorm when we were out in the harbor. So I I went up to the top and I like set my camera up and I got like a really cool photo of like this purple lightning, like the cityscape, you know.
Yeah.
It was a pretty cool shot.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Well, I want to make sure we get to this. How do we find you? What do we do? Do we follow you? How's this whole interwebs thing work?
Me and social media and the interwebs are like, I'm awful.
You do pretty well though. You pop up in my feed constantly.
Well, all right. Well, that's good. So I have 2 Instagrams. I have 802 photography _ weddings. And then I have 802 Vermont _ photography. So one is obviously strictly like weddings and engagements. And the other one is everything else I do. And then I have my website, which I'm still working on. It was more of a better done than perfect kind of thing for me.
Sure. Yeah.
802vermontphotography.com.
Okay.
Yeah.
And best way to get in contact with you? Do you prefer email, text, phone number, what?
Email or direct message on Instagram. But
yeah?
I mean, my email.
So people can slide in your DMs.
You can slide in my DMs for sure.
That's what the kids are saying these days, right? Sophie, it's always bad. I have these conversations with people and I think I'm funny. And then all of a sudden, out of the corner of my eye, I see Sophie's head like snap. And I'm just like,
an eye roll.
What did I say, Sophie?
It's a dad joke. So
yeah. Yeah. You know. And then after, she's like, people don't say that anymore. She just looks at me like, on fleek's not a thing, Dan. I'm like, I don't know.
The fetch.
Yeah. You know? Oh, my God. Oh, see, you're on my level. Yeah. I would pull a Mean Girls thing. I was like, there's a bunch of college clowns sitting around watching Mean Girls, Yeah. Oh, my God. Yeah, no, it's pretty bad. And the girls walk in, all the girlfriends walk in. They're like, why are you watching Mean Girls? Like, we think this is hilarious.
It's hilarious.
Okay, so slide in those DMs, give you an email. Are you booked out for 2022? I know you said you had quite a few. You have the 28, did you say?
Yeah, I think it's 25 or 26. I have maybe 3 dates available for this season.
Oh, wow.
Then I've only booked, I'm pretty open for next year. I think I have 5 bookings so far for next year.
Yeah. Okay. And how far out are people typically booking you?
I would say usually 6 to 8 months.
6 to 8?
Yeah. I have a few people that have I've had a couple weddings that were booked out a year or more, but most of the time it's 6 to 8 months.
I will tell you something funny. We track every single inquiry that comes in. Sophie's been doing a great job of getting a significant amount. We've been doing over 800 inquiries per month.
That's insane.
It's absolutely nuts. But one thing that we've been tracking is how far out the inquiry is from the wedding day. And in everything from December, I think was 8 months, and then January was 6, February was 7, and that's pretty usual because you're getting the last minute people mixed in there, and they're a significant portion. But March went back up to 12 months, and we haven't seen that since before COVID.
Huh.
And so people are truly planning. And if we look at the ratios of how many people are looking for 2024, 2025, we track the number of each and the percentage. And there has been a significant rise. It's been up to 20% and more right now for 2024 and 2025. I think, this is my own theory, that people for 2022 said, screw it, I don't care. If I want April 10th, but I'm willing to take April 8th because that's the available date, I will.
Right.
But if they actually go ahead and they see next year, April 10th isn't available, or 2023, they're saying, screw it, I'll wait till 2024. Yeah. And they're waiting, or I'll even wait till 2025. I want my venue. I want my date. I want them all. And I want exactly what I want.
Yeah.
So that's my prediction. I do appreciate you coming on the show, though. Thank you very much. I hope you had a fun time.
Yeah, I did.
There you go. And for all of you looking to get in contact, go ahead and slide in his DMs. Give him a call. Give him an email. Get them all booked up for 2024. We can't wait to really work with you and see you out in action. And again, I'm seeing all your stuff on my Instagram, so you're doing something right. They look beautiful.
Thank you.
I absolutely enjoy it. From a photographer standpoint, I will say I'm a little picky. If I see bad photos, I'm like, unfollow.
Yeah.
I'm like, no. And Sophie's over there. She's like, we're going to follow her. And I was like, not this one.
Yeah.
But no, I've really enjoyed your photos. I think they're absolutely great. So we'll have you back on. And if anyone has any questions for us, feel free to go to berememberedweddings.com/podcast and send in your requests, send in your questions so I can bring Dane back on and ask him more from you. Hopefully I did a good job of explaining everything. But if I didn't, don't listen. I don't know. No, we're so happy to have you here on the Wonderful World of Weddings. And we're going to have more people coming on every single week to give you the best information. We can't wait to see you again soon. Thank you very much. And thank you, Dane.
Thank you.
Take care.